In a sense, disclosure has to capture attention. Attention comes before awareness. This really is the first question is, will the information that's been released so far, and we'll get into some of what that is, be enough to capture attention? As everyone is focused on their weapon of mass distraction in the palm of their hand, as the attention economy has been thoroughly monetized and dominated by multi-billion-dollar companies, can the disclosure, the humble new actor on the stage, David versus Goliath, can disclosure of UAP in the form of whistleblower testimony, forensic evidence potentially, photo and video, really be enough to break through the attention barrier of society at large, at least in this country? What about internationally or regionally? It's a question. And that it cannot is going to be a big problem in generating accurate awareness of the phenomenon. So we may have a breakthrough in the United States, but what is the awareness of this phenomenon in China or in Africa or in Europe? It's not going to be the same as here. And therefore, with fragmented awareness and potentially highly inaccurate interpretations of the phenomenon, how will we make a coherent whole species response to what is taking place in our world? Interestingly, I put out a poll this morning. What do you think is the avenue by which disclosure will effectively happen? Government disclosure was the first option. Almost nobody picked it. Really interesting. No one's buying stock in government disclosure. So why are we hanging out like alley cats waiting for a meal out of the back door of the big restaurant when it's not coming, potentially? There are other ways that we can effectively disclose the phenomenon. And getting into that is going to be extremely empowering, especially to those people who have had direct firsthand experience of the phenomenon, lest those people are relegated to worthless testimonial, evidential categorization. And we all look up to false authority, the false authority syndrome of, well, the government must know, the government must tell us, they'll tell us the truth. Well, none of that may be true, right? And so maybe we should listen to people who say they have had experiences. Not to say that those experiences are all inherently accurate as they've been interpreted, but there's a tremendous amount of data right there staring us in the face in the direct encounters that people have had with purported non-human intelligence. And here I want to touch on what Harold Melgrim brought forward regarding JFK's knowledge of the UFO phenomenon and the degree to which his knowledge of it and his attempt to act upon it might have played a part in his untimely death. I don't have a video playback to show. I encourage you to watch the interview on this section, but Harold goes on to say that JFK had knowledge of UFOs long before he became president due to his involvement in naval intelligence, due to his contact with James Forrestal, an individual who obviously had extreme access to information on this topic and who died under very strange circumstances, potentially related to it. But basically, Harold spoke to this. I have heard this elsewhere. This is not a new statement, that JFK understood the alien presence was a reality and attempted to make overtures to the United States' chief foreign adversary, the USSR, Khrushchev, the leader of the USSR, to attempt to engage on the topic, using it as a potential platform to develop a peace-building effort and a denuclearization effort. Really interesting. Now, I might interject in this potential reality that JFK was assassinated in part due to his attempt to thaw relations with the USSR. Would this topic be grounds for peace based upon a proposed collaboration with an NHI between the US and the USSR, meaning they would collaborate collectively and jointly with a visiting species, or because it presented some kind of hazard and risk to both parties and to the world itself, and that was the basis for a functional unity to take place? I lean towards the latter as a much more likely scenario. Fast forwarding 25 years, we have Ronald Reagan in front of the UN General Assembly making this statement: in our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bond. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. February 13th, 2015. Finally, my biggest failure of 2014, once again, not securing the disclosure of the UFO files. Interesting choice of language. My biggest failure. Wow, that's pretty big scope to give to the UFO phenomenon right there. But as we look back through history at the statements made by state leaders, by high-ranking government officials in many different countries, it becomes very clear that UAP is regarded as a matter of the highest consequence for the national security of one's country and for world stability. October 25th last year, on the Joe Rogan Experience, Trump, when asked about the UFO issue, said a lot of interest in the people coming from space, and I know you're interested in that. Rogan responds, yes, very interested in that. How much do they tell you about that? Trump, a lot. So just one of, again, a number of statements made by former presidents regarding the veracity behind the phenomenon, the fact that there is a there. Incidents such as the Bluegill triple prime nuclear test, in which a UAP was seen in the fire plume of the nuclear weapon and fell from the sky, incidents like this were common, and that Department of Energy sites had been frequently observed and incursions had taken place, and that there seemed to be, and this was the quote, I just touched on it, there seemed to be a very clear interest by whatever this phenomenon is in the tip of the spear science and technology. So interesting that in the three-body problem, that effectively was the core narrative. So we'll do a show on three-body problem at some point, especially when season 2 comes out. But I'll put up on screen here the main takeaways of the scenario at play, because Harold Malmgren relayed that he was told that the three-body problem, the model presented in that novel, is potentially the most accurate representation of what is taking place. So, survival-driven colonization, preemptive control and suppression, philosophical and civilizational superiority, and strategic silence. 4 cornerstones of that model as presented in this novel, and also film rendition. Strategic silence, very interesting. People ask, well, why hasn't the phenomenon revealed itself? Maybe we're not ready. Maybe governments aren't allowing them to. Maybe it's all about us. Maybe we're in the way. Maybe we should gaslight ourselves till the nth degree, right? I would say no. Maybe we should also allow for the scenario in which they are choosing to remain silent strategically until certain events, certain times, certain vulnerabilities become manifest in the world, that when we do ever sit at the negotiating table with non-human intelligence forces, we will be in a disadvantaged position to petition for our needs to be met. There have been many individuals who have been in the program on the front lines of humanity, or at least this government, the US government's confrontation with NHI, not humanity, the US government. But imagine globally, right? There are over 170 countries in the world. Have all of these federal institutions, or majority of them, interacted with this phenomenon? How many thousands of people within each have had direct, firsthand eyewitness access to it, right? We're talking about tens, if not hundreds of thousands of individuals who have committed part or even a large part of their life to dealing with this at some level. That it remains completely obscured, hidden, and revoked from public access is truly the greatest scandal in human history, I would say. We all want the truth. We all want institutions to be transparent. We all want to know. And so we bang that drum. But I don't hear many people asking the question of, well, what is it that will be disclosed? What are the contents of the communication? What is actually behind this cover-up? If it's benign, small in scale, U.S. only, okay, it's a controversy of an American drama, right? Or a nice story for Netflix, 10-part series. If this is global, pervasive, if it is high risk, high hazard, if it has had a major hand in shaping world events, that's a big tamale to bring out into the public. It's worth understanding, or beginning or attempting to understand, the what, because that helps us understand the why. If the what is that disclosure is there is a hard reality, and disclosing it is tremendously difficult, that helps explain why it's being done, but also, more apropos, why it has not been done. There is a zone of probabilities already there, indicated in the evidence that we have. We actually don't need more evidence to begin to bound those probabilities. And if we can't even use the evidence we have, I'm not sure what we'll do with government disclosure, more photos, more videos, more amazing craft depicted digitally. What are we going to do with that in decoding the intent of the phenomenon? So let's use what we have. Let's actually proof of concept demonstrate that we can decode intent using evidence. I think that's an important signal to give to ourselves and also to those who are engaging us and potentially visiting our world.